your money in this time can't save you, but your actual legitimate health can. And these 5 things add up to you being a happy, healthy, whole human being. Hey, what's up, everyone, and welcome to the Elite Realtor Experience, a podcast dedicated to agents ready to take the next step in becoming elite. We have been doing several weeks of tactical strategies in your real estate business, and that's great. That's very valuable, hopefully, but I want to go a different route today because our podcast is not just necessarily related to tactical step-by-step strategies to become a fantastic realtor, but also in your personal life as well. I think we need to shift it up a little bit and just discuss some things from a personal standpoint, because there's a lot going on. There's a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of stress, there's a lot of unknowns and things that we're just very uncertain about, which affects us from a day-to-day standpoint. And at the same time, many of you are completely shut down in real estate, period. So a lot of the things that we're talking about doing, you can't even be doing right now. So let's shift gears a little bit, because I think we as a society, and real estate professionals for sure, are stepping back and realizing that we have a lot of needs personally. Maybe some things that we have tried to shove off to the side or pretend like we didn't need or didn't exist. And in our entrepreneurial society, in our entrepreneur culture, in our real estate culture, we tend to drive home the idea, and all these influencers and thought leaders push you to be very, very self-sufficient and self-reliant and don't need anything from anyone. And while there's merit to that, I think what we're learning just a few weeks into this quarantine thing is that necessarily is not the best way to live your life. Trying to push aside things that inherently, humanly, we are born and bred, and from an evolutionary standpoint, have been cultured to need, to all of a sudden try to just shut that down is not necessarily the most healthy way to live. And I think we're very, very quickly realizing this, learning this, that as a human being, we actually have needs. And we're remembering that during this time period. So what are some of the things that you're being reminded of that you need? What are some things that you've potentially been trying to push back, shove to the side, sweep under the rug? I'm good. I don't need this. I'm fine. Everything's good. I don't need anything. That you're suddenly remembering, yeah, actually, I do need to lean back on those things. I've got 5 things that I think that we have forgotten that we need, but we're now awakening to the reality that as a human being, these are probably really, really important things for us. And these are in no particular order. But the first thing that I think we are remembering now that we have a deep need for is community. One of the things that's always been fascinating for those that study criminal behavior or just human behavior in and of itself is that the rise of the gang culture that was so prevalent in the 90s, early 2000s, and really still to this day in certain parts of the world, is that young men and women weren't necessarily looking to just do stupid things and create chaos and being part and involved in criminal activity. They were looking for somewhere to belong. And they were looking for a group of people that accepted them. And unfortunately, the only people that would accept them were folks who were doing things that they shouldn't have been doing. Because we are created with a deep sense and a deep need for community. We are created to do things together. We are created to grow together, to learn together, to learn from one another, to lift one another up, to build each other up, to continue to push each other to be better and to strive for more, to encourage one another, to do life together. Now, I think for some folks, not being able to go to church has reminded them the deep need that they have to be gathered around like-minded people. So many of us, we get our community from our office co-workers, the people that we are rubbing elbows with on a day-to-day basis. That's where we get our community from. Healthcare workers, my gosh, I mean, they are starved for community right now because they go home and they can't even be around their family. They have to tell their kids, no, 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 don't hug me. Stay away from me. I don't want to infect you, which is such a sad reality. But we are being starved of community, which is reminding us that we really do need one another. That in reality, we can't do this thing called life completely by ourselves and totally alone. We are born and bred with the innate need for one another. So the first thing is the community aspect that we have forgotten about, but we're being reminded that we drastically need. The second goes very, very much hand in hand with the first, and it's the need for deep, meaningful bonds, deep, intimate friendships. We are trying and have tried for so long, again, to be so self-sufficient. I don't need anybody. I don't need anyone to discuss things with. I don't need anybody to talk about what I'm struggling with. I don't need anyone to bounce my emotions off of and get feedback from. I don't need anyone who knows everything about my life because I can do it by myself. Once again, I think the fact that we're being starved of that is reminding us that it's a necessity for us to live healthy lives, mentally and physically, to have a small group of people, maybe even just one or two people, that we are so intimately connected with that they know pretty much everything about us. That is a desperate thing that we have got to have. And it goes back to that acceptance that we need people, a very, very small group of people. Community is a big group. These close bonds and close intimate friendships is a very, very much smaller group of people who get us, right? We all want to be understood. We all want people to get who we are and what we're going through and how we're feeling and what we've been through and why we think this way and why we feel this way, why we tick this way or why we talk that way. We need people, close, intimate friendships, whether that's a best friend, whether that's potentially a therapist, somebody that you are pretty consistently discussing things with, which is what I have, and I'm not ashamed of that because I understand the need to have someone who can, from a non-judgmental standpoint, guide me and help me and direct me and understand who I am to continue on my path and journey of life. So I think we're reminded that deep, close bonds are very, very crucial to us. The third thing is spirituality. It's a taboo topic in our culture, right? Nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody likes to talk about it. Now, I'm not talking about religion. I'm talking about spirituality. I'm talking about a deep sense of faith in something much bigger than us, much bigger than you, regardless of your faith tradition, regardless of your spiritual tradition, in what route you go. I think that we as a society are stepping back and seeing this coronavirus thing we don't have control over. We like control, and we like to explain why things are happening. We like to have answers as to why things go on or why people do what they do. It's why psychology is such a fascinating topic, because we're always searching to find out why things are happening, what the purpose of them are. But in something like what we're experiencing right now, it's very, very difficult to come up with logical answers that explain away why things are happening the way that they're happening. And so we are, as a society, as a human race, beginning to awaken to the reality that we have a deep need for something much bigger than who we are, much bigger than being able to logically explain why certain things happen, because there are some things you just can't logically figure out. So many of us are going back to our spiritual roots, which is a beautiful thing. And again, whatever your faith tradition is, I have deep respect for that. And I'm a very open-minded individual. For those that know me, my faith tradition is Christianity. I have 2 master's degrees in theology. So I have a deep sense of faith, and my leanings are towards Christianity. That's just the faith that I have accepted and believe. And even me with 2 ministry degrees, and I used to be a youth minister. A lot of people don't know that. I even forgot, and in this business world that I live in now, that we live in, from time to time forget how important spiritual matters are. And I'm not going to get into the theological side of is God doing this on purpose or all of that. That's far beyond my realm, and quite frankly, my belief is far beyond anybody's realm to try and answer that question. But nonetheless, I think we are sitting back and beginning to lean back on our faith traditions, regardless of what your faith tradition is. And again, to me, that's a beautiful thing, to step back and realize, okay, there's certain things I can't control, certain things that I can't explain. And so I look to a higher power. I look to something bigger than myself, regardless of what that is. And I think as a society, we're remembering that is a very, very, very important thing. And I know not everyone is. And again, if that's not you, I completely respect that as well. But I think as a whole, we are beginning to look at something bigger than us, going back to the roots that we came from a spiritual standpoint. And I think that's a deep-seated need that we have. Two more things. The fourth thing, I think we're being reminded that our physical health is very, very, very important. Something like this is such a shock to society. We think, okay, I'm doing well, and I get to live however I want. I mean, if I just want to binge on this or binge on that or not take care of my body, it's no big deal because I'm successful and I have money and I'm going to be good. Well, I think this pandemic is proving that it doesn't matter how much money you've got. If your health is poor, this thing's taking no prisoners. That at the end of the day, your monetary wealth isn't going to save you. Your physical health, in some cases, isn't, but it gives you a significantly better chance to be okay while something like this is going on. And I think we are sitting back, and again, we're opening our eyes that, oh my gosh, my physical health is extremely important. I mean, 2/3 of the United States is either overweight or obese. Such a sad statistic, but we have had such a cozy life for so long now that we're not really set up from a physical standpoint to be able to survive and thrive in something like what's going on right now. And I don't mean to be fatalistic, but my gosh, I think this pandemic is proving that your physical health is drastically important and that you have got to start paying attention to it. Yes, you need to pay attention to what you put in your body. Yes, you need to pay attention to the amount of alcohol that you consume, or the amount of sugar that you put in your body, or the amount of carbs and fats, and monitoring the things that you're eating and monitoring the things that you're putting inside of your body. That matters. I think we're realizing as our gyms are shut down and as we're binge eating, and all of a sudden we're looking in the mirror saying, oh my gosh, it only took 3 weeks to look like that. We're realizing the importance of physical health. We're realizing the importance of exercise and lifting weights and treating our bodies well. If you haven't been treating your body well, how can you expect your body to fight that well for you in the midst of something like this? So I think that we're awakening to, and I know some of you aren't going to like hearing this, but again, fact is fact, reality is reality. We have not been taking care of ourselves. And so for many of you, this is a wake-up call that, okay, I've got to start treating myself and my body well, because you get one body and you're in control of it, which is a beautiful thing that you have control over that. So take ownership of it and recognize you should start taking care of yourself better than you have been. Okay, fifth and final thing is the mental health side of who you are. And again, I'm discussing this from a business standpoint, that in our entrepreneurial world, we hustle, we grind, right? Outwork everybody else, push harder than everybody else. And that's great and that's fine, but at the end of the day, that's pretty mentally taxing. We destroy ourselves mentally. And when you tack that on top of the fact that we haven't been taking care of ourselves physically from a diet, exercise, sleep standpoint, our mental health is a disaster. I mean, we are a society that is just completely intoxicated by antidepressants and anti-anxiety medication. instead of treating the root causes of what's actually creating the chaos in our lives mentally, we just attempt to medicate ourselves to, instead of treating the symptoms, just try to eliminate the symptoms, but the problem still exists. I think that we, again, as a society, as panic has just swept across our world, realizing that our mental health is drastically important, that we have a deep need to take care of our mind. We have a deep need to take care of our emotions. We have a deep need to be continuing to grow ourselves mentally and emotionally on a daily basis. And those are things that we've been putting off. Yes, we're reading business books. Yes, we're really, really good at reading about how to be better at this profession or that profession, or communication skills. And all of those things are helpful. But at the end of the day, are they really, really helping your emotional health? I don't know. I think statistics would prove not really. So what are you doing to protect your mind? What are you doing to protect your emotions? Do you have people, a community, close bonds that you can rely on to go to people when you're struggling? Do you have strategies that somebody like a professional therapist can help you develop when you're dealing with anxiety, when you're dealing with panic and fear and worry? Do you have strategies in place to help you step by step walk through and work through those things? Or do you rely on your medication? Now, I don't want to seem insensitive, because I already know the feedback pretty quickly is going to be, well, John, there are people that absolutely have to have it. And I get it. I get it. But I think the vast majority of us don't need that. It's just we're choosing to take the easy route instead of choosing to take the route that actually takes care of who we are. And this pandemic is bringing to light a lot of things that we have very desperately attempted to shove under the rug, sweep under the rug, and just ignore. So here are your 5 things again. 5 things that I think we've forgotten we needed, that we're waking up and realizing are actually very, very drastically important to us. Number 1 is a community, a place to belong. 2nd are close bonds, close, intimate friendships with people where you can spill your guts to them at any time. 3rd, spirituality. 4th, your physical health. And finally, 5th, your mental health. These are all things that I think we have completely forgotten about. And on the back end of this, when we're past this pandemic, if you take this time to focus on those 5 things, then when we're able to conduct business in a manner that we have been able to so successfully over the last 6, 7, 8, 9 years, then you will be set up to be significantly more successful, because now you are actually focused on your true health and not just your financial health. Your money in this time can't save you, but your actual legitimate health can. And these 5 things add up to you being a happy, healthy, whole human being. I know this wasn't specifically business related, but hopefully this will help you step back and take maybe a quick analysis of where you're at in your life and the things that you're struggling with and the things that you're doing well, and see some things that you need to focus on over the next however long this thing lasts, so that again, on the back end of it, you will be set up to be even more successful than you ever have been in your entire life. Hope you're well. See you again soon.